Back into racing action before the break, we sent out our biggest rider entry for the bikes, quads and juniors as part of round number 1 of the Africa Off-Road Championship at Hartbeesfontein, brought to you by N1 4x4 Cruiser and Toyota, your four-wheel drive experts in association with Pirelli. A lot of the riders were starting to find those slightly hidden ditches, but at the same time, you could see a lot of the danger markers were there. Triple caution always means there's a ditch or a drop-off or some kind of danger marker, and you could see the marking had really improved from last year. Last year was good, this year even better, so they're starting to really specialize in marking for the bikes and quads to make sure that the guys are forewarned and forearmed. Same story for the cars, but of course the cars have that little insurance policy of roll cages around them. For the motorbikers, it is all important to make sure the tracks are marked safely. And I think that's why we're seeing such big entries coming in at this early marker of the season. Word around the campfire is that the races have become extremely safe, user-friendly, and that's why we're seeing more and more people make the big lineup. So all the riders now starting to make their passes on lap number 1. Remember, lap number 1, no one will have seen the track apart from the race organizers who went out there and laid out the track. So round number 1 and lap number 1 of the first event is all about sighting and learning. After that, all riders can start to hurry up the pace. Sandra Gray was still the first lady out there and making a massive step up from her smaller capacity machine. Almost sounded like she might have been on the big 450 or the 500. Christian Steenman dropping into one of the few dongas that we have kicking around the area. You can see that the area has been really benefiting from the late season rains. A lot of grass, and that meant some late week build-up for Flip and the crew at Africa Off-Road to go and do some brush cutting just to make sure that the riders were able to clearly see where they were going. Dylan Fenter just checking on his Boney, making sure that he is good to go. You can see he's starting to suffer from a little bit of arm pump in the early laps. Still the first of the quads, and we expected to see this as soon as we saw his name on the lineup queue. He's going to be hard to beat on this championship tour, Pierre Joubert. This is going to help him out in confidence as well. Can run up in the top 3s at other events, but at these events he is going to be very hard to beat. Adrian Badenhorst on the Honda, starting to make his way up there as well. Eben Fenter coming through on a fresh out-of-the-box KTM 2018, and he'll be chased down in the end of lap number 1 by Glyn Vermaak. A couple of riders getting crossed up there. Aidan Frith, he's made mincemeat of the rest of the field in the quads and got himself up into number 2 spot. So that's a big move from one of our former junior riders, getting himself up into 2nd quad overall. That means he's put P.E. Kutzer behind him, although P.E. is in good shape as well. But Bennett is the man that's gone missing in action on lap number 1 on the 700 machine. He's a no-show at the halfway marker. Vincent Ardendorf coming through there as well. So Bennett on the 700 machine, we're going to have to keep an eye and see if he's actually going to come out of the background. Lomarie Van Heerden almost getting bucked off her bike, managing to just save that one. And well done for our cameraman. Right place, right time. And wow, that was a close one. Very, very close indeed. She just managed to hang on to that one by the skin of her teeth. And that'll keep her heart rate up for sure. Eloise van der Linden running 2 spot at the moment in the ladies 2-wheel category. And she'll be trying to pick up the pace on lap number 2 and chase down on the back end of Gray. Ethan John Walker, another rider getting caught out. We've seen the shots, and we know that that is triple caution, so a couple of riders just ignoring the triple caution there and almost paying the price. Getting a big fright. Watch this rider, Manus Croft. He is aware of it. Rolls off slightly, allows the front wheel to dance across before dropping into the donga. Manus Croft there having a good job. Francois Bennett just clearly getting a little bit lost on lap number 1, and that's put him right at the back of the pack for the quad side, and he's going to have to work very hard to try and achieve a top 3 placing. It's going to be a difficult position for him in the championship to try and close things up on all the riders running ahead of him. Hendrik Rutt doing a nice job to run high up early on. Jason Fenter, well, he's impressing me big time. We know he can drive a car extremely well as his brother and his dad, but on the bonies, very strong indeed. So clearly, this is what he uses as a bit of fun and a bit of hobby work. Calvin Perry doing a chase down there and a big overshoot, almost taking out our cameraman and our camera vehicle, but entertaining nonetheless. These guys are a little bit blinded by the bush as they come on in. No problems for Dave Perry though. He's all good to go. Same story for Bradley Stennett. The problem was, just before that bush, a little bit of a long straight, and you can hear the riders were coming in around about 3rd or 4th gear. Johan Buerta on the 85cc big wheel. Werner Kleinams, so it is his teammate a little bit further up the road, and Werner Kleinams is definitely going to be one to watch as we get a little bit later in the race and he starts to build up his pace and momentum. Kleinams is one of those riders that could easily go ahead and win an event like this. So riders all doing a big overshoot, missing the marker by around about 300 meters. And a group of, looks like about 4 riders are going to be working hard to get back on track and figure things out. Aidan Frith has now been put a position down as Bennett has got himself back on point and back into the position where he should be. So the man who was the man to beat in the quad category is now up into the 2 spot and going to be chasing down on the Honda of Pierre Joubert. This marker was around about the half race distance of lap number 1, and the man who is the rock and roller in the 200cc class, Peter Karam. I could watch this guy ride all day. Super aggressive, and he does work that bike hard. Rowan Lindsay, he did say when he came back at the end of lap number 1, he says this track is absolutely custom made for him. Look at it. Puts the bike on its nose, hard on the brakes, sitting on the tank. Great to watch. 252 stroke rider. Johan Gray is going to be strong to watch the whole way through the day. Johan Lubber, these are the guys that run on the 450 and 500 side, so they like to work with big machinery and get as much horsepower down as possible. Werner Delport loves to ride old school style, so he runs the Yamaha 250 two-stroker and just gets on the pipe. Coming back from a big crash at the end of last season, so he's just getting himself back on point. Blue Levy, you can hear the tractor underneath him. 2018, I think it might even be a 500cc KTM, and the Superbike Warrior gets a little bit crossed up. He's coming off one of his best off-road races, the Clarksdorp 150, right at the end of last season. JJ Brits, just after that, Sandra Gray. So Sandra Gray still looking on point for a top 30 overall, as JG Haycock and the C550 come into view. At this point, a lot of riders had made the passes that they wanted to on lap number 1 and were eyeing up coming into the pits. Gary Ferreira, Jackson. I did think that it was Werner Kleinams for a second there, but it is his teammate Werner Kleinams that we'll pick up on a little bit later on as he comes in to the end of the pits. Karam and Lindsay working well together. Johan Gray looks like he might have got himself up into a 3rd place overall, and of course leading out in the Masters category. Fury Smith, sleeves rolled up, elbows up high. He hasn't faded at all. Delport looks like he might have charged himself up inside of a top 5 overall. And Johan Lubber, those guys have worked well together. Karam goes out onto his 2nd lap, riding on the 250 KTM for Roost KTM. And Rowan Lindsay doing the chase down. He's riding out of Centurion KTM, still in the Liqui Moly colours. And after that, Dylan Landsberg. These are going to be the guys that walk away with the big wins, not only on the race, but in their categories. Johan Gray, in the past, he has gone on and taken overall victories at these events. And he is the man to beat in the Masters category. How cool to see all this branding, really upping the appeal and the look and feel of these events. So once again, big thanks to our sponsors for the 2018 season of the Africa Off-Road Championship, starting here at round number 1 at Hartbeesfontein. N1 4x4, Cruiser and Toyota, your 4-wheel drive experts. And for the first time in 2018, Pirelli coming on board. Gavin Breckel, tasty rider, should be on point for a top 3 in category and top 10 overall. And then Bonnet van Mokta, he also started inside of a top 10, and Marshall's doing a stellar job to make sure everyone is rolling into the pits. They get their bag and tag, quick refuel of bike, body and spirit before they go back out onto their next lap of racing. You'll recognize from a couple of minutes back when we sent all the riders out through this section, out of the start line queue. It's nicely chewed up now. 62 riders on the motorbike side as well as the quads, making sure that the ruts are in, and lap times on lap number 2 would be absolutely tumbling. Some riders will increase their lap time, or should I say decrease their lap time, between laps 1 and 2 by around about 5 or 6 minutes. Peter Karam, he'd be sweating it. He said he was so close to running out of fuel on lap number 1, and he'll be trying to bring down the revs on the 254 stroke. The 254 strokes do tend to chew up the petrol, and those little legs telling us exactly what has happened there. Unfortunately, Karam just working the 250 a little bit too hard. The splash and dash should have been a little bit more paw. 3 fingers, not just 2, putting it into the tank. And that means there's going to be a new rider coming up and getting onto the box in the 200cc gate. Gary Ferreira Jackson and Armand Volmerans working well together out there on the tracks. and just perfect conditions. All riders coming in, high fives and finishers medals all around, and what an incredibly successful round number 1 of the championship. Most riders coming in and saying, you couldn't have planned that better. A week's worth of rain beforehand, a perfectly laid out track, well marked, no dust pretty much the whole way through. Karim, even though he ran out of juice, he managed to get enough to get back out and carry on his race. Sammy Van Niekerk coming through. Let's see where she lines up. It will be a hard ask between herself and Sandra Gray to see who's going to be the fastest of the female contingent on 2 wheels. Aidan Frith, big smiles. He's going to be happy with his first ride up into the senior ranks. And Johan Gray will once again, no doubt, be walking away with the big win in the Masters category. Bernard Delport, no problems for him. He's come back from his injuries. He'll maybe be a little bit race rusty, but he has come in nonetheless. Looks like Gray is going to walk away with the number 2 spot in the ladies. She's also back from her injuries. Valdi van der Merwe and all of the 2-wheel and quad warriors now coming back into the mix. We lost Francois Bennett around about the halfway marker of lap number 1, but he came back charging and benefited from problems on Pierre Joubert's Honda. Looks like he had some gearbox problems and unfortunately was a DNF, so he's not going to be scoring the points at round number 1, and Bennett is going to walk away at championship points later. Here's a breakdown of the categories then coming out of the first event of the season. In the OR1, the Big Banger class, it was Johan Lubber ahead of Nico Viersa and Johan Marais inside of the top 3. OR2 bikes, welcome back to the top step for Wynand Delport, taking the win in the OR2s ahead of Van Mopte and JJ Brits. Peter Karim, incredibly enough, taking the big win in the 200 class, even though he had his problems out there. Johan Buerta in the junior senior bikes, and the senior bikes goes to Wynand Clenhams. No surprise there. Johan Gray, best of the Masters ahead of Gav Breckel. Very strong competitors though. In the ladies, it was Sammy Van Niekerk ahead of Sandra Gray and Eloise van der Linden. In the quads, Bennett beat out Ardendorf with problems for Joubert, and in the ladies, it was Lumery van Heerden walking away with the big win. In the junior bikes, Joubert White beating out Ethan John Walker and Monis Kraft, and we went down in the pits and caught up with one of our top quad runners to find out what happened.
Pierre Joubert, I started off a good start, got a little bit lost before the 10k board, and after that I think with getting lost I got a front flat and fought with the quad all the way to about the 30k, and then after 30k quad started pulling heavy and I just felt something wasn't sounding right. When with pulling in the clutch, the quad completely seized out, and I think bearings or something went on the quad with the heat and all that.
It was good. It was good. Tiring. I'm very, very tired, but it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was very well marked, and there were a lot of corners where you can slide around the corner, so it was really fun.
No, it was an excellent race. I think Flip and the team did a great job. It was well marked. I love the little green stickers that show you going in the wrong direction. Thank you very much to Tracks for supporting me and for my family for being safe so far. Thank you.
Hey, it's Gary Ferreira. Everyone knows me as Jackson. Just finished 150 Ks, 3 laps of 50. Fast, but beautifully marked, nothing dangerous. Awesome race. Thanks, guys.
My name is Jan Ray Visser. My bike number is 24. It was a nice race today. I did 4 laps today, and thanks for them Flip and Tony Berta, Africa Off-Road.
Cool feedback from all of the riders. Thanks for joining us for the bikes and the quads. After the break, we go into the car side of racing.